yet another edition of our program where we discuss issues that bother our day-to-day health challenges and how to resolve them practically. You will remember we've been on a series, and today we're actually going to run down, we're going to summarize or go through everything that we have done so far, and then we can then pick a new topic henceforth. We started really this year, we started with a topic we call how to cure arthritis with herbs. And in that video, we make it practically known what you can combine to resolve arthritis pain. We assure you that it is very, very effective, and if you can do it, definitely you can be sure that your arthritis pain will no longer be there. We mentioned the item you are going to use. The link is on this the description below. You can always access it and watch the video. If you want to access all our videos, just go to YouTube and type Dr. Onipinsaiye-Davies, and you will see all our videos. Dr. Shaye, Shaye, Onipinsaiye, Onipinsaiye, then Davies, Davies. You will see all our videos. This is a summary of them all. So we discussed about arthritis, and then we also added in that video that for the sake of those that will not be able to gather all these items, we already have made a product which we call Pain Off XL capsule, and that you can just order it and then use it instead of going and looking for the item. And we have experienced a lot of testimonies with respect of this particular product. We noticed that people that order the product, I'm not too sure whether we can record up to 2 that spoke negatively about it. In 100 cases, I can boldly say that we have 95 that have spoken very positively about the efficacy of the product. So you can watch the video, very educative. Now, of course, the one that follow that particular video is a follow, we call it the feedback from people, where we try to explain. We read out people's testimonies. That was at our then. Now it's already uncountable. In fact, recently somebody posted something you didn't already. He came from America. He didn't believe in all of these things. His mom insisted to take the product due to the pain he was experiencing. And after taking the product, he said he or she, I think this lady, because he had the shady or something, she said she has no option than to come public to come and say something positive about something he has been speaking against for so many years. He also read the testimony on YouTube. It's there on YouTube. And after that, we now started a series. We call it Why Do People Fall Sick? And we made it clear in that video that the main reason why people fall sick is only one. Just one reason why people fall sick. And that's what we describe as depletion of vibrational frequency of the organs. We let you know that the organs in the system can be likened to the battery of a car. If the current inside the battery is up and optimal, if you start your car, it will answer you. But the moment the current in the battery runs down, it means the car will not, the engine will not ignite, and you have to possibly call a battery charger to come and charge the battery before it can start. And it's the same with all the organs in the system. Practically the same. Every organ you see has a particular frequency at which it resonates. And the moment you can raise this frequency to that particular level and maintain it there, quote me, no disease can set in. What we call disease is consequence of the dropping, what we call depletion of this vibrational frequency of an organ. If, for example, a particular organ is supposed to resonate at 90 mH, and for whatever reason, it drops to maybe 63 or 62 or 57, then it simply shows that that particular organ will not be able to perform its function as expected. And what will happen? Symptoms begin to manifest, which we call disease. And what is the solution? Simple. Just find a way to raise the frequency back to what it's supposed to be, and that will be the end of that particular disease, no matter the name given to it by medical science. As simple as that. So we make it clear that the only reason why people fall sick is because of a drop in the frequency and vibration of the organs. Now, the subsequent video that follow, we discuss factors responsible for this. Because if an organ, for example, was originally resonating at a normal frequency, and all of a sudden started coming down, then there will be some factor responsible for it. And we've said, here there are many factors, but we are going to mention 4 major factors. And we started by discussing the first one, which we describe as, what you call it? Disobedience to the law of homogeneity. Disobedience to the law of homogeneity. In that video, we explain how perfect nature is, and nature that gives you the physical body has also made available food that you can use to maintain the physical body because they are homogeneous. The physical body is from nature. Those food are also from nature. Call them, whether it's the fruit, tuber, grain, and so on and so forth. These are the things that nature made available for us to feed our body with, so that there won't be any form of problem. But human beings do what we are. We decided to go out of, the line by now producing those food that are not homogeneous to the physical body, which naturally must have consequences. We talk about noodles, we talk about bread, we talk about different type of processed and synthetic food. The moment you eat any of this food, whether you like it or not, the radiation of that particular food, which is synthetic, will tamper with the natural radiance of the organ in the system, which will naturally bring about what we call depletion. Also physically, the sedimentation brought about by the interaction between this kind of food in the system is what in some places they call toxins, accumulated toxin, and so on and so forth. So, effect of synthetic food, which we describe in the video as food that are not from the farm, the effect of this type of food are so enormous. Go onto our channel and then you also get to see it there. The second factor we said we describe as the law, disobedience to the law of individuality. Disobedience to the law of individuality. If you listen to the first one, we mentioned that you should take, or the food that can be of benefit to the physical body are natural food. But even among the list of this natural food, everything is not for everybody. There are people that are definitely allergic to some type of food. There's a popular saying, one man food is another man poison. Which may want to do for Mr. A may not be good for Mr. B. And this is very, very, very correct. Practically speaking, this is what we have experienced in the clinic for over several years. This is due to the fact that there are no two human beings that are the same. We have people with different blood presentations. Science are able to give us 4. Blood group A, blood group B, blood group AB, and blood group O. And we also be able to identify the fact that if a particular blood group eats food that is not homogeneous or compatible to his blood or his blood type, it comes with certain consequences, which normally borders on depletion of the organs in the system. So, and we even mentioned it there, that you can even send in your blood group, and then we can tell you those food that you are naturally allergic to, so that you should avoid it. I remember I mentioned, I gave blood group O as an example, and I mentioned that blood group O that is taking catfish is not helping himself. Then the third one we mentioned, the third factor responsible for depletion of vibrational frequency of the organs, we mentioned cellular dehydration. Cellular dehydration, where we even practically demonstrated the effect of water in the system. When we take the normal water that we should be taking really is the water that has not been tampered with in any way by man. The water that is naturally given to us by nature. For example, water that's coming from the rock, rainwater coming from far away in the sky, stream water in the forest, and so on and so forth. These ones have not been tampered with by man. Now, if you take that type of water, its radiance, its frequency remains intact, and then by the time it enters into the body, it does its magical work. But the moment we tamper with it by adding any form of chemical, whether I call it chlorine or alum or whatever, in the name of purifying the water, definitely you have changed the frequency of the water. So what you are drinking in reality, you are not having the system, you are actually adding to the problem in the body. So the question now is, we live in this city. So where do we get this kind of water from? We can't go to where would we see the rock that will be giving us water? And I mentioned that there's no problem without a solution. And I say in this case, in reality, there are two ways you can actually solve this problem. We mentioned that there are ways you can restore or you can restructure this water around us that have been tampered with, whether you call it sachet water, bottled water, jar water, or even pipe water, which they all contain chemicals. There's a way you can restructure them back to their natural states. And we mentioned that there are two ways. We mentioned the first one to be, you see the clay pot we mentioned first, where we actually demonstrated the fact that if you put water inside a clay pot and you allow it to stay overnight, it deactivates all these chemicals, and what you have in your pot by the following morning is actually natural water. So clay pot is one way we can get water that is very close to nature. It was demonstrated, and then I'm sure if you watch it, you will see the full video. The second one we described was what we call the bow disc, which perform virtually the same thing. The only different bow disc is portable. You can travel with it. You can put it in your pocket, and that one is also simple. You can see the way it was demonstrated in the video, where all you need to do is to run the water over the bow disc, and once the water can touch the bow disc, it restructures the presentation of of the water, and what you have is bring the water back to its natural state. So that was the third one, and the final one we discussed was negative emotion, which I often describe as the most important. And people always ask me, why do you consider that to be the most important? I see that the most important. All of them are very important, but why I call it the most important is because if you look at number 1 to number 3, these are things that are happening from outside the body into the body. But if you look at this number 4, it is the body itself that's producing that particular issue. For example, what do I mean by negative emotion? Fear, worry, anxiety, anger, hatred, malice, resentment, bitterness, unforgiveness, name it. There are so many. The moment a human being sinks himself into this kind of emotion, it automatically depletes certain organs in the system. And what do you have? Disease. You can imagine, for example, a situation where somebody is having an issue with his emotion, and which has not affected the bloodstream. The bloodstream has collapsed in cold, which now makes it very difficult for blood to flow through, what consequence of what is called high blood pressure. Now you are giving this person drug. What will drug do in that circumstance? Even if the drug force the blood vessels to open, and eventually you have a temporary relief, for as long as the emotion is there, it is obvious that this condition will remain unresolved. You cannot understand why some of these high blood pressure cases are often referred to as incurable. They can be cured if you know the emotion that is responsible for it. What does this mean? Identify the emotion that is a problem to you. It may be fear, it may be anger, it may be worry, and then try to disconnect yourself completely from it. So those are the things we have discussed so far, and we discussed in an extensive manner. If you go to our channel, like I already mentioned, you will see the full video as presented. This video today is a summary of all that we have done so far. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I remain yours sincerely, Dr. Onipinsaiye-Davies. Davies, the medical director for the Onipinsaiye Hospital and a natural health physician. Please do not forget to subscribe, and then if you find the content of this video useful, press the like button and share. Thank you very much.